All right, let's talk about modern web browsers. I'm using modern because in 2025, web browsers have taken on a vastly different part of our computing experience than they did back in 1995 or 1985. I didn't even have a web browser in 1985. I just had a green text on a black terminal that I typed basic programs into. And now today, you can run your any web browser you want on almost any computer, and you can do almost all of your computing
Money.
entirely in a web browser. So, what is the web browser? Well, yeah, it's the most important application for us today. It's really the way that we access the internet. That is that's what our web browser is for us. And it's software that runs on your computer. It has to be updated. You can extend its powers with additional applications called extensions. But the web browser's job is really to go to someone else's computer, download a bunch of files onto your computer, and then show those to you in a way that you might expect them to be seen. So for example, I have a home page. It has some links about me. Your web browser goes to the server where my home page is, downloads all the files, all the pictures, all the JavaScript, any code, files, video files, anything there is, and then it shows it to you on your computer. And that's what happens back and forth on the web all day, every day. So you wouldn't normally directly interact with the web server. Like we can open up a command line and we can type some commands and we as developers can interact with servers. But normally you open your web browser, you type in your favorite search engine, DuckDuckGo, and it gives you a box and then you start typing and working with it. So let's take a look at what our browsers do for us. So first of all, it does that web page request. That's what we call hypertext transport protocol. The little S over here means secure. We like secure. Secure's good. It shows us what those are called documents, those HTML documents. It shows us what those documents are. It it reads the rules on how to present them. That's what these other terms are. This CSS, those are the rules for presenting the document. And then you can have some interaction that's using JavaScript or some other server-side technology so that you can click on things and have buttons do things. You can fill out forms, you can make online purchases. That's I mean, we're all doing shopping and signing up for classes, and you might even be accessing this video right now through a web browser rather than a dedicated YouTube app. And for those of you in class, you could even be on Zoom through the web browser. So you get an idea, this is very powerful. And since the web browser is the one that is promiscuously going out to everyone else's computers and connecting to them, they naturally have to be as secure as possible because that's the front line for bad guys or malicious software to creep into your computer. We don't want that to happen. I hope we never go back to the days where your Internet Explorer could go to the Yahoo page and a bad advertisement infected your computer. Those that was a bad time. But your web browser, it has data. So if you're using Google Docs, you can go to offline mode. It has all the Google Doc application, all of your files. It probably has your emails. Your web browser interprets all the files that you open. I can drag an image or a PDF right into the browser, and the browser has all of that built in. So if you're going to have an image, which might be a PNG portable network graphic, or a JPEG, a JPG file, which is a compressed image, the browser knows what those are, it just shows them. So what does our browser look like? Well, first of all, you've got your user interface. You're not seeing very much of my user interface right now. So let me move my browser over. I've got it hidden over here to the side. So you can see on my user interface, there's an address bar up at the top where the presentation is on the web, and there's the label that I have for one of my extensions, and there's a bunch of tabs over here on the side. The browser itself is using its engine to display this presentation, this rendering JavaScript. Most of us don't pay attention to the JavaScript too much, but there's got to be networking. There are requests back and forth with the server, and then, of course, accessing all the local data. So we take a look over here. What does this rendering engine mean? Let's see if we can figure it out. We will deduce this. So Google Chrome is using Blink. Okay. Firefox has got Gecko. Nice. That's what I'm using here. This browser that I'm showing you right now is Firefox using tabs on the side, which is a setting. Safari is using WebKit. But here's something interesting. Edge is using Blink, just like Google Chrome. Opera is using Blink, just like Google Chrome. In fact, as we look through the current browsers today, you'll see that many of our current browsers are based on Google Chrome. In fact, one of my favorite browsers is the Brave browser. It's based on Google Chrome. If you're a fan of Vivaldi, they have a very dedicated fan base. It's a beautiful product. It's based on Google Chrome. Even Microsoft, the big company that I was touting earlier, they gave up their web browser twice, and they're just using Chrome, the open source version of it called Chromium, that they're building their web browser off of. And then each company is customizing the Chromium base to make their own engine. But that makes the internet an interesting place because, as we'll see later, most of the internet is, most of the web browsers are based on Chromium. So let's see what kind of things we like in our browser. What makes a modern browser different from the bad old days where you would open up one window per page? That was I was one of those guys. If you looked at my screen in those old days, it would look like I had 50 windows open on my computer. It's because I did. Each window was a different page, and it was difficult and time consuming to navigate between them. Now I just open them all up on the side, and once I go past here, I'll just be able to scroll through, or I can group them up. Most browsers allow us to group tabs, so then I can have a scrolling list of group tabs. I can have hundreds of tabs open. It's wonderful. Right in the address bar, in most browsers now, when you make a search, you just go up there and start typing for whatever you want. It will use your favorite search engine to go out and search the web. Favorite search engines today might be Google, it might be DuckDuckGo, or you might be using something like Brave Search or even Perplexity. I keep going back and forth between Perplexity and DuckDuckGo because DuckDuckGo is doing AI overviews just like Google is now. But Perplexity is still pretty good. Another thing that's nice with browsers, we've had these forever, is being able to manage your bookmarks. It's fantastic to have your 100 pages that you go to and just have them all there. You don't have to hand code, like I make this page for myself to keep track of a bunch of bookmarks and I synchronize it between computers. You don't need to do that if you're using something like Firefox and you have it on multiple computers, because your bookmarks will synchronize between them all. Now, if you want to synchronize bookmarks between different browsers, that's a different story, and we can look up a tool for that later. Also, it's kind of nice to be able to go back and say, last week I was browsing around some sites looking for some skunk defense because these skunks are crawling through my yard. What was that site again? And you can usually dig through your history, going back as far as you save it to go find what you were looking for, so you don't have to try and remember everything. Every now and then, it's probably a good idea to clear the history out just to refresh everything. And then, of course, your browser takes over all the downloading of files. What have I downloaded lately? Some DuckDuckGo and some Word files. with strange names. That just pops up right there. So privacy is important to us whether you think you care about it or not. It's nice that every browser now has the ability to open up a separate mode, either called incognito or private browsing, that doesn't save anything locally. It doesn't mean that it isn't saved on the server. I mean, Meta, Facebook still knows where you're browsing, but it might help you keep your information separate from your other main browsers. For example, let's say you have two Gmail accounts and you only like to use Chrome. Well, you could open up another profile on Chrome for your second Gmail account and then have one Chrome open on one profile and one on the other. But that's an extra step. It's kind of a hassle if you don't want to do that. So you could be logged in on your main Gmail, but then you could open a private window to open your second one. That's one of the main uses I've seen personally of people using incognito mode. I have an extension in Firefox that fixes that over here called multi-account containers. I'll mention that not on this video, but later on in class. We might have tracking protection. We'll talk about tracking a little bit later in the class. Some of the browsers are doing different things for tracking protection between Brave and Safari and Firefox. It's kind of a race, and some of them are better at one thing or the other than the other browsers. And this HTTPS, this is the secure transport of web pages. We're increasingly in a world where we're making everything has to be a secure connection. And that's because people with bad intentions can trick your browser into thinking that they're hosting PayPal or that their site is your bank without that security mode. So the browsers have gotten really good at being able to enforce that. So you're not going to be tricked into thinking, "Oh, I'm logging into my PayPal account now," but it really says something different.
Are there such bad people?
Yes, there are, sir. Unfortunately, they're out there trying to get a hold of you all day, every day. It's a shame. And that's why there was a big iOS update the last few days because there was another 0-day exploit found for iOS. It might have been found by Apple. I didn't see any attribution that they that the bad actors were able to put software on your phone and spy on you without you doing anything. So if you haven't updated your iOS devices, you should do that as soon as we're done here. Let them do their update. Another security measure here is pop-up blockers. In the bad old days of the early web, there used to be all these pop-ups. They would just take over your screen. They would go crazy. You would you would be at work. You'd get an email. You'd go to a website completely innocently, I have to say. Um, and then all of these different ads would pop up, and some of them would be very inappropriate for work. And then you were embarrassed and you had to go see the manager. It was yeah. So those pop-ups are blocked by default in all the major browsers. We have the opportunity to enable safe browsing in most browsers now, where if you allow, and you have to allow it, they'll check every URL against a list that the browser companies keep. You can also have updates installed automatically. I highly recommend that. There are regular updates to the browsers, and some of them are for exploits. Some of them are for features, some of them are for security vulnerabilities. We want to have our browsers up to date. I'll go forward instead of backwards. Okay. Don't worry, I won't talk forever here. I don't remember how long this presentation is, but I'll keep it going. Convenience. Most browsers have a password manager built in now. Is it the best password manager? No. Um, should you use it over something like Bitwarden or 1Password? Probably not. But is it better than having nothing? Absolutely. With a small nonprofit that I work with, we issue a laptop to all the employees, and we install Chrome because they like Chrome. And so we have everybody log in to Chrome with their work account, which is a Google account, and I ask them to save all their passwords in Chrome because in that one small condition and working in that small company, it makes sense for them, and I don't have to train them on another tool. It's also nice um, if it's convenient for you, you can have the browser know your credit card number and your home address and your mailing box or whatever and fill it in for you so you don't have to type it all day, every day. The password managers also take care of this and synchronization for us. But if you have a Firefox account or a Chrome account and you log into multiple browsers, so you have your Firefox account on your computer, on your desktop, and your laptop and your phone. You can have lots of synchronization happening, or the same thing with Chrome. It's pretty, things are pretty good for us right now. And then if you are a little more technically inclined, you can open up the developer console and you can really dig into how all the modern web apps work. Not that most of us are doing that, but sometimes it's nice to know where did that video come from or what pages am I connected to? You can also check your performance. Maybe the pages are slow, but your other websites aren't slow. So if you are feeling very technical, you can open up this developer console and look at the network performance or see what's happening with the actual code that was downloaded to your computer. So we already in the chat we shared some of our favorite web browsers, and they were Chrome, Firefox, Safari, and DuckDuckGo. So Chrome is by far the most popular browser. And when you use Google products on other browsers, they always pop up and say, "Hey, do you want to install Chrome?" And a lot of websites are designed to work best with Chrome, like our Canvas LMS. So we kind of get bullied into using Chrome a little bit, but you don't have to use Google Chrome if you don't want to. You can use all the other Chrome versions and they'll be just as good. My Chrome version that I use is Brave. So Firefox, this is my personal favorite browser. It's got a good privacy focus, but Firefox was that descended from Netscape. So Firefox is the sort of the source of truth for HTML, CSS, and JavaScript on the web these days. When developers are learning to build web apps, they go to the Mozilla Developer Network called MDN to go learn how to do that. And I like that there's an open source, sort of a third party small guy, even if Google does keep the lights on for them. It's okay with me. They're doing great things. Safari, that's the browser that Apple uses is their version of the open source project called WebKit, but it's the default browser on the iPhone, and that's why it's a major player. There aren't that many people using Mac OS computers, but there are lots of people using iPhones. Safari is very fast, especially um, if you're on a newer Mac or an iPhone. It's very fast. It doesn't kill the battery. It also doesn't turn on a lot of experimental features. Apple is working behind the scenes in ways that we never see until you start testing to keep our privacy and security a high priority. So it's always interesting to see, oh, Safari does this thing, but Chrome and Vivaldi and Firefox don't. So that's always fun. There are other browsers based on WebKit. There's a couple really, really nice ones out right now that are kind of still in development, but it's a nice system. Of course, you have Edge. Edge is the default when you install Windows 10 or 11, you get Microsoft Edge. That is based on Chromium. They have all their AI integration. They include lots of shopping plugins. Microsoft is doing some innovative security with sandboxing and Windows together. It's it's nice. I think they're on one hand they're helping the users out. On the other hand, I don't like a bunch of shopping plugins, so I tend to only use Microsoft Edge so that I can go and install Firefox and Brave. But it's built into Windows, so you're going to get stuck using it at one point or another anyway. and at least it's a reliable, fast, solid browser. And they were pioneering some fun features like tab groups and vertical tabs and other things years ago that now we're only literally just getting. Last month, Firefox, or last couple months, Firefox got these vertical tabs and tab groups. So good on them. Now, Opera, you might remember Opera from uh, 20 plus years ago. They've been a browser company forever. And one of the things that's really great about Opera, they're very focused on making the best browser. They have built in the email and chat. They have all these features that they build into Opera, and it's very compliant with the web because it's built on Chromium. So if you like their productivity tools, if you like their mobile version, they have some ad blocking, they have a VPN feature. It's a very nice offering to get into. I'll say back when I worked at the very briefly one summer, I worked at the Computer Society. At that time, I was a strictly Windows user, and I used Opera on every Windows computer. It was my favorite browser back then. All right. So, browser extension. We still call them extensions and not apps. But if you think of a browser extension like an app on your phone, so you have your phone, and everyone is familiar with their mobile phone, and it comes with a few apps built in. So it has a few things it can already do. It can do email, it can do web browsing, it has a to-do list, it has a calendar, but you have other things that you want the phone to do, and you install applications to extend the features of your phone. So now your phone is a very secure authenticating device to log into your email. Now your phone is a video game platform. Now your phone is whatever, hundreds of millions of things that we're doing on the phone now. And browser extensions are in a similar category. So you can install a browser. Oh, that's a mistake. That's a typo. This is supposed to be a that's supposed to be a speaker note down there. I'll have to fix that later. Whoops. I'm not going to change it in the video though. You get that mistake. And you would never have known it if I didn't point it out, and I'm aware of that. So we can say, well, here's our web browser. We love it, but I use this password manager, 1Password, and I want to have access to all my passwords while I'm browsing the web. So you can go and install the 1Password application. So those are nice new features. Not every browser has a great screenshot feature built in like Firefox does. So when you're on Chrome, you have to go find something to install to take screenshots if you don't like what's built into your computer. So what kind of extensions do we have? Security extensions. These are big. uBlock Origin. That's my number one extension that I put on every browser. Bitwarden, that's my number two. And then this is a tricky one. Oh, I can see I completely didn't do my my speaker notes correctly here. Oh well. In the store, so if you go to the Chrome Web Store, there are thousands of VPN extensions, and thousands of them are malware. Literally thousands. There was a big study done. Google doesn't manage the applications in the Chrome Web Store, and most of those VPNs, thousands of them they didn't do anything, and they installed something bad on your computer and tried to steal your information. So you want to be careful. That's what this note is. Um, if you have a VPN you like ExpressVPN or NordVPN, those extensions are going to be okay to install. But if you can't just browse around the web store anymore like you used to be able to do. Or sometimes we go to the store still and we walk around and we're like, oh, look at this. I wonder if I need this. Macy's is selling it. It looks really nice. I wonder if it's something I need. We can't do that in the Chrome Web Store anymore for extensions. That's why I'll give you some direct links later. Then we can also have some productivity tools. I like Grammarly and Language Tool. I don't have them installed on this browser, but it's nice to have it correct some of my grammatical errors for me, or at least point them out and say, do you know you're using the passive voice again, Sable? Like, oh, I didn't notice that. Thank you. So being able to take awesome screenshots, or if you're using a big task manager, I don't know about you, but I'm one of those guys that likes to spend more time working on my task management system than actually getting tasks done. I love all the productivity tools. I love all the to-do lists and the Omni Focus and all those systems. I think it's fun just to learn those, not necessarily getting my to-do list done. So how do they work? Um, they actually change the functionality of your browser. And this is why it's important to be careful with extensions. I'm just going to mention again, because those are applications you're installing in your browser, and the browser is an application on your computer. Sometimes they can get through the security sandbox and get to your information. We don't want that to happen. So technically, extensions can be trouble if you get something that's untrusted. And without going crazy, we'll just say you're going to go to the Chrome Web Store or the Edge add-ons or the Mac App Store for Safari. You're going to see extensions. Don't don't trust those. Find the extension outside of the store that you want, and then use the link from the publisher to take you back to the Chrome Web Store to install that, just to be safe. Or maybe we don't need that extension after all. We'll see. We can see I have a lot here on security because it's become a big point. So, you know me, I'm a security focused here. One of the vectors that's happening is people have been spending years building very popular extensions that millions of people use, and they're getting offers to sell their extension. Hey, I'll give you $100,000 if you sell me your extension. And here's somebody that's been volunteering this for 8, 10 years. They go, sure, I'll take 100 grand. But then the people that pay them start putting ads into it, and they start changing it, and they're taking that trusted user base. And yeah, so you just want to check those permissions, install reputable extensions. I give you a list of some of my favorites over there. Just like on your phone, in your Android phone, and you install the flashlight, and the flashlight says, would like to see all your contacts. And you think, why does my flashlight want to have access to my contacts? I'm going to say no. We don't need to give the flashlight access to our contacts. That was just spyware. So keep an eye on those pop-ups. I know it's a lot, but the browsers are working really hard for us. They're doing various versions of isolating content on your computer, and different browsers are doing this differently, but each browser is trying to protect us from bad stuff on the web. Websites are increasingly not able to see each other when you have two different websites open in two different tabs. Increasingly, they can't tell that you have another website open in the tab next to you because the browsers are getting better at isolating that content. They're checking constantly whether that security certificate on the website is valid or not. And they're doing that in really interesting ways. And we're getting better about protecting when you open a website. The browsers are getting better at protecting you from other websites attacking because let's say you loaded an advertisement that was running JavaScript code from somebody else's server. So we're in much better shape today with whichever browsers that we choose. We're getting real-time detection. We're getting pop-ups on known phishing sites. We're getting prompts on our browser that says, hey, this thing over here is not secure, but you're on a secure page. Maybe you should be aware of this. It's kind of nice. So which one should you use? Well, I chose Firefox, and I told you my various reasons. Brave has really great built-in ad blocking, and it's also based on Chromium. So some things that don't work in Firefox will work for me in Brave. Safari, very fast, low battery usage, low resource usage, syncs with all of your iOS devices. There's lots of reasons to use one or the other of these. You might want the like fast. I think that Chrome is pretty fast. Opera, Edge, Edge is built in, so why not use it? So what do you have to decide? Like, I have a built-in browser, it works fine. Is there any reason I should change? No. There's no reason you should change your browser. This is just to figure out what our browsers are doing, and then if we decide that we want to change, what are our options? So a big consideration for me was actually the extensions. And one of my must-have extensions on every browser is called uBlock Origin. I'll show it to the class after this video is done. uBlock Origin is like a firewall for the browser, and it stops a lot of traffic that I don't want, and it lets me control certain aspects of pages. But it wasn't available on Safari, and Chrome did an update that broke a lot of older extensions. So uBlock Origin has a light version that works on all those browsers now. So I'm happy. I can use any browser happily because I have uBlock Origin everywhere now, which is great. So what does it look like in the future? Oh no, more errors on my page. It's not supposed to look like this. You're going to have AI in every browser everywhere. I mean, already right now, I can hit Control X and it opens up ChatGPT for me, or Gemini, or Mistral, or Claude, and that's been in that's been in Firefox for a while. Just hit Control X. Brave has its own AI agent built in. Perplexity has an AI browser called Comet that is a version of Chromium built by Perplexity. It's actually very sleek. It's very nice, but they're tying in the Perplexity chat agent and all kinds of interesting and innovative AI features to bring you something different, something we don't have yet. There's also the Arc browser, which was very early on brought on Page Summary. I mean, like 3.5 years ago, and they're creating an entirely AI focused browser as well. So we're going to see big changes in the way that we use our computers over the next few years. It's exciting for me. More security, better performance. I like having all these apps that I just save it from the web right to my desktop, and it runs like a locally installed app. That's called a progressive web app. That's a really great feature that all my browsers support. And I think that we're going to be better. We're going to be better off in the future as browsers continue to improve. So, here's a few things for us to remember. I'm not going to read that list for you, just giving you a moment. Okay, and then after this, we'll come back to these discussion topics. Thank you very much.